Hi everyone, this is Virgile. In this video, we're going to learn how to manipulate our athlete performance testing dashboard so that we can compare the athlete that we pick to any position and any team that exists in our database. Currently, the way that we have this set up is that when we select an athlete, we automatically make comparisons between this athlete that we pick and the athlete's team, or the athlete that we pick and that athlete's position. What we're going to do here is we're going to create a couple of drop-down lists that allow us to compare this athlete to any team in any position, regardless of what the team and the position are for the athlete that we pick. This will allow you to make more dynamic comparisons if you choose. Let's get started because I'm really excited and this is going to be really cool. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to add a couple of rows at the top of our dashboard to create drop-down menus to make this possible. Right here, row 3, I'm going to add 2 rows above it. Insert row above, and insert row above. Once we've done that, we're going to have all these drop-down arrows because we had data validation beneath. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is we are going to remove those arrows. We can do that by selecting on all the cells that have the drop-down arrows on them, and go to Data, Data Validation, Remove Validation. Now, let's make it all blank. So let's change the fill color to Reset. Our drop-down lists are going to go in this row. Let's make this row a little bit thicker. We can resize it by right-clicking on row 3 and clicking on Resize Row. I'm going to make it 30, a little bit bigger. And these 2 rows, row 4 and row 2, I'm going to resize those to 10. Now, the first 3 cells I'm going to merge together. And I'm going to call this Team of Interest with a colon. Let's make the font black. The next 3 cells, D, E, and F3, will also merge together. This will be our first drop-down, where we pick the team that we want to compare this athlete to. Then we can copy both of these things, have a little space in column G, and paste them in column H, so that it fills our dashboard space nicely. But here, we're going to select our position of interest. So instead of team, we'll say position. The next step is to create these drop-down lists. There are a couple of different ways to go about it. We'll go through the simplest way first. To create a list of teams to pick from, we can select cell D3. Well, it's actually cell D3 to F3, the 3 cells that we merged for our drop-down. Then we can go to Data, Data Validation. A list from a range is good. We'll say Reject Input. And then we'll select the range that we want to select from by clicking on this box. Now, for Select Data Range, we can go to our Profiles area and select the first team in your list of teams. For me, that's cell F2. And then we'll do colon F, so that the list goes all the way down to the bottom of our sheet, even if we add more teams. And that will be our drop-down list. Then we can click OK and save. Now when we go back to our testing dashboard, we should have a drop-down list of the 2 teams. One thing that I should do is I should highlight all this stuff and make the font black so that we can see everything. And now we should be able to select either of the 2 teams that are in our profiles. Now we'll want to create a drop-down list for all of our positions. So we can select on cell K3 or K3 through M3 because they're merged, go to Data, Data Validation, Reject Input, and select Data Range. Now for our data range, we'll go to our profiles and select our positions. Cell B2 colon B, so that it goes to the bottom of our sheet. And if we add new positions, they'll be accommodated for. You can click OK and save. Now, in our testing dashboard, we should also have a drop-down list of positions. Great. Now let's go to our chart data because we need to make 2 small manipulations. What we currently do is we select a player on our dashboard and we automatically generate their position and their team based on what we have in their profile data. So for Trey Sung, we know that their position is a guard and their team is Toon Squad. If we go to our chart data, we see that the position is guard and the team is Toon Squad. We know that. And all of our calculations, position averages, team averages, and comparisons, are based off of what are in these two cells. If we want to compare this athlete to any position in any team, all we have to do is, instead of this area under select position, or cell A7, having this formula in it, we can go equals, go to our testing dashboard, and select the position that is selected in our dashboard, right here, which is a forward, and click enter. Now, what Google Sheets is doing is it's rerunning all the calculations. We have to do the same thing here. Instead of automatically generating the team that the athlete is on, we can go equals, go into our testing dashboard, and select the team that we selected, and click enter. Now we just have to do this in one other place. This is for the top portion of our dashboard, or the non-historical data. So now all those comparisons will take place in this area. But when we get down to the historical data area, we'll also have to make one minor change. Go into our chart data, and if we scroll over to the right a little bit, we'll see that we pull in this information one more time. So all we have to do is do the same thing that we just did in this area. In cell AC7, where we have a formula getting the athlete's position, we can go equals, go to our testing dashboard, and select the position that we pick, and click enter. Similarly, for the team, instead of having this big old formula in here, we can go equals, go to our testing dashboard, and select the team that we pick, and click enter. Now let's go back to our testing dashboard. If we want to compare this athlete to the Toon Squad, we can do that here. If we have team selected, now we're comparing to the Toon Squad team. If we have position selected, now we're comparing to the Toon Squad forwards, or the position of the Toon Squad that we have selected. And if we select Monstars again, now we're comparing this athlete to the Monstars forwards. So we can do any combination that we want. For example, we might want to compare it to the Monstars wings. And because I didn't set up my positions very well, we don't have much data here, but let's try the bigs. There we go. And we can try the guards, and we'll see that things change. And what I mean by I didn't set up my position data very well is that I just didn't think too much about it, because all this data is fake. So when I made my athlete position assignments, I didn't really think about how many athletes are in each position team combination and things like that. But you will, because you're working with real athletes, and your data will be real. Now, this is really interesting. I want to go over this for a second. What we see is in these graphs down here, we see that the green line, or the position best, is here, yet this athlete, Trey Sung, is way up here. They have a value that's way better than the position best. How is that possible? That's because Trey Sung is on the Toon Squad. And we're comparing him to the Monstars guards. Trey Sung is also a guard, but we're comparing him to the Monstars guards. So this gives us different information. We can quickly see that Trey Sung is way better, or performed way better in this metric that we selected, than all of the Monstars players. That's pretty cool. If we change back to the Toon Squad, now we can see that this athlete was also the best at their position on their team. And here's where the average position value for their team was, and the worst. So we're looking at it gives us the ability to look at different types of information in different ways, particularly when we're dealing with multiple teams and or multiple position groups that we want to compare across one another. The last thing that I want to do here, before we move on to something a little bit more complicated if you have different teams and different positions for different sports, is let's just make this look a little bit better. I'm going to highlight these two cells, make them light gray, highlight these two cells, make them light gray, and then we'll have our selections, which are the guard dropdown and the Toon Squad dropdown. We'll make those gold, so we can tell that we're selecting them. And that's how you adapt your dashboard quickly to compare this athlete to any team in any position of interest. The way that we have this set up is we have teams and positions as separate or independent from one another. What I mean by that is, if you select, let's say, instead of teams, you have sports, and you select soccer, no matter what, this list will have all your positions for all the teams that you have. So you might see offensive linemen, defensive linemen, if you also have a football team. What I'm going to show you now is how to create different lists so that once you select a team, all the positions that are possible to choose from will only exist within the team that you selected. In other words, if you select the football team, the positions that show up here will only be football positions. And if you select a soccer team, the positions that show up here will only be soccer. I know it might not make sense right now because of the way that I have my teams organized, but I'm going to change that for a second. I'll create two different teams or two different sports, and we'll see how this works. So let's go to our profile area, and I'm going to snap out, snap back in, and we'll have different teams and positions. Okay, I'm back. What I did is I changed. The first team is baseball. It's a baseball team. The second team is a soccer team. So the soccer team has striker and defense as positions. The baseball team has P, 1B, and OF, or outfield, first base, and pitcher. So if we go to our testing dashboard and we select the baseball team, we'll get all the baseball positions, but we'll also get the soccer positions. And if we select a soccer position, it's not going to make any sense. So one thing that we can do is we can change these lists so that only the positions within the team that we select are available. So let's do that. Let's change this back. Let's change this to 1B for now. And let's set up those lists. To do that, we're going to go to our admin area. And this is completely optional. We're going to set up another list right over here. The first thing we'll do is we'll get a header for this list. So let's highlight these two cells, make them dark gray, make the font white, and let's call this position list, just because I don't have a better name to call it right now. If you've been following along with the tutorial videos, what we're about to do is going to be quite simple relative to what we've done so far. All we're going to do is we're going to get a unique list of positions that align with the team that we selected. And to do that, we're going to use two functions called unique and filter together. First, let's start with filter. Well, equals filter, open parenthesis, and the first thing we need to decide is what we want to bring back, which is the range. For the range, we're going to go to our profiles, and we're going to select B2 colon B, because we want to bring back all of the positions in this list when there's certain conditions that are true. And those conditions, or that one condition, comma, is when the team, which is in column F, so F2 colon F, when the team is equal to, and let's go to our testing dashboard, or we can go to our chart data now. So let's just go to our testing dashboard and select this team right here. Now what we're saying is we want to bring back all of the positions, or everything that's in our column B of our profiles tab, when column F in our profiles tab, or the team, is equal to the team that we pick in our dashboard. And we can close the parenthesis and click enter. And now we have a list of positions that align with the team that we selected in our dashboard, or in our case, the sport that we selected in our dashboard. Google Sheets is cool in that we can create a drop-down list of all these positions and it will automatically ignore the duplicates. So let's try that. Let's go to our testing dashboard. Right now, our list, if we go to data validation, so we're looking at profiles B2 to B, which is over here. It includes all these positions. But now we want to change what we're looking at for this drop-down to be in our admin area right here. Admin R2 colon R, which is our new list that we designed to align with the team or sport that we selected. We can click OK and save. Now, if we go to our testing dashboard, this position list will just be for baseball. Now, just because it's good practice, let's do this. And if you're using Excel, Excel will not currently ignore duplicates if you're making drop-down lists. So let's go to our admin area, and let's add another function on top of this called unique. All unique does is it essentially removes duplicates. So before filter, we can go unique, open parenthesis, and just close the parenthesis on the other side, and click enter. And now all the duplicates are gone. If you want this list sorted alphabetically, you could also use a sort function. To do that, all you have to do is add sort before unique. So the word sort, open parenthesis, and again, close the parenthesis on the other side, and click enter. Now we have a sorted list, alphabetically. If we go to our testing dashboard, and we decide, hey, actually we want to look at the soccer team, now we're going to get a little red flag by our positions and say, hey, you know, your list is wrong right now, which is right because we have 1B selected, which is not a soccer position. But when we click on this drop-down list, we'll have only our soccer positions show up. So now it just makes a little bit more sense. But keep in mind, this list is directed, or the position list is directed by the list that we select our team from. So we need to select the team first. And now, if you are making this transition, there are two quick things that I want to bring up. It'll just take a moment. The first is that we notice that there's no logo here anymore. Now, what we had to do with the logo is that we had to tie it in to the team that was selected right here. Because in our testing dashboard, we gave ourselves the flexibility to change things in the athlete's profile. So if we tied it into the team that the athlete was on, and we decided to move that team up here, then there's no way for us to kind of tie in the logo to any specific cell. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. What we have to do now is we need to change this formula slightly and get the athlete's team. Let's go to our chart data. We removed a formula that had the athlete's team here, but let's add in a new formula. So we have the selected team. Let's copy that and paste it here, and we'll call this athlete's team. And now we just have to write a quick index match formula to get the athlete's team again. Sorry for deleting that at the beginning. And go equals index, open parenthesis. What do we want to go in this cell? Well, let's go to our profiles and select the team that the athlete is on, which is column F, comma. So we want to get a team, and which row of the team do we want to get? Well, we want to match, open parenthesis. We want to match in our chart data the athlete that we pick right here. This is the athlete that we pick in our dashboard. We want to match the athlete that we pick in our dashboard, comma, to, go to our profiles, the athlete's name in column A, comma 0, close the parentheses. So what we're saying is we want to look for the athlete that we picked on our dashboard in column A. Boop, 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 and we find them right here. And whatever team is in that row, that's what team the athlete is on. That's what we're telling Google Sheets to do. And if we click enter, there we go. The athlete's team is baseball, but the selected team for our comparisons is soccer. So we notice that those two teams are different. Now let's do the same thing for the athlete's position. So we can copy this athlete's team, we'll paste it down, and we'll say, instead of athlete's team, we'll call this athlete's position. And then we can copy our formula that we just did to get the athlete's team and paste it under athlete's position. But instead of looking for something in column F in our profiles area, which is the athlete's team, we'll look for something in column B instead. Go back to our chart data and just change F to F to B, and click enter. Now we have the athlete's position. Great. Now I'll show you why we did this. Let's go to our testing dashboard. The first thing that we notice is that the logo is all messed up. That's because we are matching, or we're trying to find the logo for whatever team is in A10, or chart data A10. Chart data A10 is the selected team now, the selected comparison team, which might not necessarily be the athlete's team. We always want the logo to show for the athlete's team. So instead of matching to A10, we want to match to A19. So in our testing dashboard, instead of matching to chart data A10, we'll match to chart data A19. And we'll still get an error because we don't have a logo assigned to the baseball team. Let's click Enter. Now, while we're still on this, let's go to our admin area. This is where we assign our logos to the different team names. Currently, we don't have a logo assigned to a baseball team. So if we type in baseball right here, now this image will be the logo for baseball. And if we go to our testing dashboard, we should see that appear. However, if we type in soccer, which is how it would have worked before, if we type in soccer, now this logo is assigned to the soccer team. And if we hadn't changed what we had changed, we would still see that logo show up here because the team of interest is soccer, even though that's not the athlete's team. I hope that makes sense. I'm going to undo what I just did. So we don't have a baseball logo, and that's okay. The next thing that we want to consider is this. Right now, we selected overall score, and we're comparing the athlete to their position average overall score. However, now this position average is the average for this position that we select, which is misleading because it says P average, which is the athlete's position, even though we have the soccer defense average selected. So this gauge is displaying the soccer defense average, but it says P average above it. To change that, we're going to change our reference. I did a lazy thing here by selecting this letter, which is the athlete's position, which I shouldn't have done. Let's remove that and go to our chart data, and now select the selected position. Right here, chart data A7, and click Enter. Now it's a valid representation because we are comparing this athlete to the defense average for the soccer team. And that marks the completion of this venture. We were able to quickly, at least if you don't want to do these minor things, we were able to quickly adjust our dashboard, everything in it, so that when we select a team and a position of interest, we can compare the athlete to those instead of the team and the position that they are assigned or that they belong to, which gives us a way of interacting with our data in a different way. I hope that this video was helpful. If you enjoyed it, please make sure to give it a like and subscribe to the channel if you've been enjoying the content so far. I'd really appreciate that. Thanks again for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in other videos.